Okay, we go back to this. So the next one is wars and rumors of war. This is our last section here, wars and rumors of wars, and I want to talk about what Jesus talked about. And forgive me for white Jesus here. You know, the Brian Christ, as we call him. So the but and Jesus did a on the Mount Olivet, he gave his sermon
Mm,
about the end times, which is something that we always lean back on. What did Jesus tell us about these times that we're going to go through?
mm,
And in Matthew 24, starting at verse 3, it says, and as he sat upon the Mount Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. So, this is something that we need to break down. Famines, pestilence, wars, and rumors of wars. These are things that we see before the great coming terrible day of the Lord, before we see this time of great tribulation, right? And is these wars and rumors of wars. So that's what we're going to talk about today, the wars and rumors of wars. And this is something that is just picking up so much speed. We are on the brink
mm,
of World War III,
mm,
and everybody knows it, but yet nobody seems to be preparing for it.
mm.
It's just like we know it's going to happen, but we just kind of just saying, listen, just let me know when it happens. you know, you ever feel like that sometimes?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I get it. These guys are on the border of this place. Okay, these troops are going into this area. Just
Mm.
just let me know when it happens, okay, guys?
I'll go back to my TikTok video.
Yeah. hmm
Yeah. At another time is the entire world. It's like when I was thinking about it, uh, I think all the continents of the world, there is some sort of at least tension, if not an actual war that's going on. Probably the only place that doesn't have war, the only continent is the Antarctic. But in every other place, the entire world, it's either there is war ongoing or nations are taking sides, um, picking sides because of certain tensions. Here in the Philippines, there is a tension between the Philippines and China. China is also bullying Taiwan. They're saying that they're gearing up uh, to invade Taiwan so that they can reclaim that nation and get it back into the communist China. So um, the nations in Asia are picking sides. The US, of course, is the one that's saying that we will be your savior. Philippines, allow us to go back into the Philippines and build our bases there. They're doing the same thing with Japan, with Australia, and many other countries here in Asia. So definitely so many things going on. I haven't been keeping up, but I know there's so much tension right now in Niger. There was a coup, so in that area in the continent of Africa, nations are picking sides. So there could be an all-out war that could happen. It's like what's the phrase that it's like a powder keg. You
Yeah,
know,
powder keg. Yeah.
Uh, even a small spark can set it off, and everything will just explode.
Yeah, and I guarantee you that if there is a huge war in Africa, not one person from Hollywood is not going to say anything about it. You know, there's not going to be Niger flags hanging
Uh,
on liberal houses. There's not, yeah, because nobody cares about that
support
area. So
Niger.
yeah, right. Support Niger. No, you're not going to see that. But what was it? And I love out of all of it, every time that tensions are rising, all of a sudden Kim Jong Un, says to the world, "Hey guys, remember me? Okay, I'm gonna. I just set off a rocket. Anybody want to talk about me for a minute?
Yep,
You know,
yep,
you know,
yep.
it's and then he gets like a 3 minute spot on every news station for like a day, and then he's gone out of it again. So,
He needs to
um,
fire more missiles, into the ocean.
yeah, right. Yeah. So, but with the wars and rumors of wars, it's just there's some certain subjects that we're going to talk about today, before we end off the podcast. And there's so much more that we really need to talk about, but yet it's just. I mean, we're almost at an hour and a half, so I
Mm,
think this is going to
yes.
be the end of it. And then we'll get into more on the next prophecy update, which we'll try to kind of do these once a week,
Yeah.
because that's how fast these things are happening.
Yep.
And there may be times where we may need to do a little bit more, but we'll see.
Yep.
So
Hey,
with the wars and rumors of wars. So this is coming from Ukraine.
To the war in Ukraine and the intensifying battle at sea. Maritime drones striking a Russian ship in the Black Sea for the second time in 2 days. Video circulating online allegedly showing the moment the oil tanker was hit. Russian authorities blaming Ukraine and vowing retaliation as peace talks get underway in Saudi Arabia. ABC's Ian Pannell is in Ukraine.
Tonight, another strike against a Russian vessel in the Black Sea. Video circulating online appearing to show a sea drone allegedly packed with a half-ton of explosives approaching a Russian oil tanker. Moscow blaming Ukraine, threatening retaliation, saying the tanker had been supplying oil to Russian troops in Syria. Ukraine not admitting it conducted the operation, but security sources telling ABC News they did indeed carry out the strike. It follows a similar attack Friday against a Russian warship. More videos circulating online showing the moment it was struck. After sunup, the ship seen being towed back into base, listing seriously to one side. And tonight, a collection of videos verified by ABC News now indicating that Ukraine has started using US-provided cluster munitions on the battlefield on the eastern front lines, the controversial weapons banned by many countries. And as the war grinds on, up to 40 nations are meeting in Saudi Arabia to discuss a possible peace plan for Ukraine, but Russia not invited.
With China attending these peace talks for the first time, with increased attacks in Moscow and now the Black Sea, and remember that mutiny 6 weeks ago, the war is now threatening instability in Russia, which of course is China's western neighbour and ally. Whit?
Ian Pannell, our thanks to you tonight.
So now they're just striking them with little RC boats, which is interesting. But this is causing a huge problem because what you're doing is that that's the only trade route that they have right now in Russia.
Mhm.
To get people out, in that area. And this causes a huge problem for the tankers and ships that are coming through there, because these businesses, they have to have insurance. If they're going through that, now their insurance is going to go up astronomically, and now they won't be able to afford insurance. So they could say, well, you could just, for cheaper money, you could just have your boat replaced or fixed if you get hit, right? But the problem is that these shipping companies, because of the war, now are these places that make ships, they are over 8 years in backlog. That means if you ordered a ship right now, you wouldn't get it for another 8 years. And
Mhm.
so now these boats, the smartest decision is to just say, we're not going to do it.
Mhm.
We're not going to go and pick the stuff up. And so that puts Russia in a point where they have to make a move. They have to make a move. And but they're being but the Ukraine is being supplied all this stuff. Ukraine doesn't make this stuff, they're being supplied.
Yep. Yep.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like they're forcing, and now Ukraine is actually a part of Russia. It's still a part of Russia. And Russia doesn't want to reclaim Ukraine. They just want them to be in a peace treaty with Ukraine.
Mhm.
But there is something going on that's stopping them from being in a peace treaty. And that person, the people who's stopping it, is actually the U.S.
Mhm.
Here, this video that I'm going to show next is actually from RFK, which just gave a whole town hall lesson to the people listening, and because he knows he was there in these political talks, and he just lays down a truth bomb that just is amazing, and it shows what kind of climate that the United States is setting over across the sea.
To the war in Ukraine and the intensifying battle at sea.
Let's get to the next one.
I don't like the fact that America is bearing the brunt and the burden of financing most of the war against Putin in Ukraine. I think we agree on that part. Why isn't Europe, why don't they ever step up and defend their own continent before they ask for U.S. involvement? And why would Joe Biden veto Poland, given Zelensky fighter jets to actually fight to win the war after they were invaded?
Well, the more disturbing thing is that on 2 occasions, the Russians tried to sign a peace agreement with Zelensky.
Do you trust Putin?
Do I trust Putin? No, but that's not. Listen, I've litigated over 500 lawsuits. All of them end up with, or many of them end up with settlements or one kind or the other. And he never trusts the guy on the other side. You use language art, and you use the design of agreements.
So Ukraine, to appease Putin, who I think is evil, they've already given up Crimea. It was annexed. So what? Now they have to give up the Donbass area.
Ukraine, because of our pushing the Ukraine into the war on 2 occasions,
We pushed them into it, or did Putin?
Well, let me tell you. Let me answer your question.
Yeah.
In 2019, France, Germany, and Russia all agreed to the Minsk Accords. That year, Zelensky ran for president. He was a comedian. He had no political experience. Why did he win? Because he ran on one issue, signing the Minsk Accords. As soon as he got in there, Victoria Nuland in the White House told him he couldn't do it. Then Putin sends 40,000 troops in. That's not enough to conquer the country. Clearly, he wanted us to come to the negotiation. He wanted somebody to come to the negotiating table. Zelensky came to the negotiating table, signed a new agreement that was the Minsk Accords 2 in 2022, and that would have allowed Donbass to stay, and Lugansk to stay, to remain as part of Ukraine. We said Putin signed it, Zelensky initialed it, and Putin, in good faith, began withdrawing troops from the Ukraine. What happened? We sent Boris Johnson over there to torpedo it, because we don't want peace we want the war with Russia.
Why are you blaming America's?
So, and then he quickly moves on from that. He's like, okay, we can't let it sit there. But he just, an American politician, a Democrat, by the way, just blamed the American war, or this war, that we are the instigators, not Putin.
Yep.
This is the reason why they really don't like this guy.
Yep.
They really don't like him. Why? Because you have to understand, his relative was murdered by the CIA.
Yep.
And
enemy and his own father.
Yeah. And nobody actually talks about that. Did you know that they actually came out and said that, yeah, it was the CIA. It was a CIA operation to kill JFK.
Yep.
Yeah. And everybody's okay with that. Like we're okay with that, and we're still okay with the CIA. We're just okay. By the way, it was the CIA. It was our own people. It was our own government that assassinated our own president. By the way, look, hey, Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg's going to fight at the Coliseum. Really focus on that, guys.
That's the more important thing.
Yeah, but in liar news, it's like, how did that really come down? It's like, oh, in today's news, it turns out that the CIA actually assassinated JFK.
Right.
So our own government. And in lighter news, Mark Zuckerberg takes a weird turn and offers to the fight. Yeah, that's that's all distraction, and they're letting. And it's interesting how the enemy still lets you know the truth, but does it at the right time, so you have the opportunity or the decision to make either understand the truth or reject it. He does it in such a way. He's such an amazing liar. He does it in such a way that he says, here's the truth, either accept it or reject it. And most people, because they do not retain the knowledge of God, they reject this stuff. They don't care about this stuff. None of this stuff is important. Why? Because they're so consumed with the world that it just doesn't matter. And they don't see, or maybe they do and they just can't do anything about it, that we're the baddies. Have you ever seen that clip? Was it the guy says, "Are we the baddies?" You ever see that one? It's like,
not sure.
Yeah, it's like a meme from like an old video, and it has like these two, I think like they're Nazi guys, and they're kind of looking at their own army or their own government, and they're like, "Are we the baddies?" And that's exactly what
it's like having an existential crisis.
yeah, when you start looking at like maybe we're the problem. And so this is what RFK is actually talking about, is that we are the ones causing it. We're the ones trying to get this war going. And we look at Vladimir Putin as he's the enemy. And I'm not saying he's a good guy. I'm not supporting Vladimir Putin. I know that he has ties with the KGB and all that kind of stuff. The guy's probably a murderer, but yet the guy is going to defend his territory from the coming onslaught of the United States. Like look at we made a promise to Russia when the Berlin Wall came down, that the UN would not step foot any closer to Russia. And now we're at their doorstep, and we're threatening to come into Ukraine. So no wonder why Putin has decided to go into Ukraine to take over that territory, because he's got to have a buffer. I'm not saying that that's the reason why. I'm just saying that it's like at some point we have, but that's not the only thing that the United States is doing. And that's the next thing we're going to get into. And so now we need to go to Israel.
I don't like the fact.
This is news from Israel about Lebanon and Hezbollah coming close to Israel, to a war with Israel.
And we begin in northern Israel, which is facing an increased aggression from Hezbollah, the terrorist group backed by Iran, rather. CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell takes us to Israel's northern border, where residents fear that after 17 years of relative peace, war could break out.
Behind me is a spectacular view of southern Lebanon. After the 2006 Second Lebanon War, Hezbollah has been rearming and now has as many as 200,000 rockets on the other side of the border.
CBN News joined former IDF Colonel and National Security Advisor Kobi Marom on a tour along the border.
We saw an amazing rearming process from Iran, from Damascus to the Hezbollah infrastructure. And we decided to not respond, decided to have a restraint policy. That's the reason why the major threat against the Israeli people today, 2023, 200,000 rockets and missiles across the border right here that can target today Tel Aviv and other Israelis. That's the major threat for Israel.
That arsenal serves as a deterrent to keep Israel from attacking Iran's nuclear facilities. And Maron believes the regime has given Hezbollah a green light to turn up the heat.
Iranians have a high self-confidence, many diplomatic achievements lately across the Middle East. They understand that they can put a lot of pressure on the Israeli government and the IDF, if they will succeed with the Hezbollah, to create an attrition war along this border right here.
This wall serves as one of Israel's responses.
They're really concerned about the fact that Israel is going to build a wall, an obstacle along the 70 miles of the Lebanese border. because their war plan is to occupy neighborhoods from the Israeli communities along the border and actually disrupt totally the Israeli war plans.
Behind me is a closed military zone, and up on the hillside are the tents set up by Hezbollah for the last several weeks inside Israeli territory. The latest provocative act by the Iranian-backed terror group. The question now is, will Israel destroy the tents or allow them to remain? In the meantime, Hezbollah is pushing the envelope. Propaganda videos are rampant, ranging from this simulation of an attack on an IDF outpost to intimidating military exercises. And this footage shows Hezbollah special forces patrolling the border fence in violation of the UN resolution that ended the last war. Marom also sees Hezbollah taking advantage of Israel's internal division.
They look to the tough struggle inside the Israeli society as a great opportunity to create challenges to the Israeli government, to the Israeli people.
Marom also fears what could potentially result from the combination of the terrorist bravado and this precarious situation.
Is it possible that we face a war between Israel and Hezbollah in the near future? Yes, it's possible, with a miscalculation of one of the sides.
And Chris joins us now. Chris, what were your...
So this is really interesting that Hezbollah and Iran have both opened forth battlefronts inside Israel. Now, why do I bring this up is because there's something going on with Hezbollah in Lebanon. Do you remember the explosion with Beirut?
Yeah.
Remember that?
So
And we
a warehouse or something.
right, it was a fertilizer warehouse that it had like ammonium nitrate, I think it was.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
that was
basically like a giant bomb.
yeah, it decimated the area,
Yep.
and they're not going to come back anytime soon.
Mhm.
Why would it? That seemed too big to not be just whoops, you know. It seemed a little bit too weird, right? To just be a little bit of an accident. And well, when an area is decimated, it seems like America is quick to say, we'll help. Not decimated areas such as, like, let's say Chicago or San Francisco or different areas across the United States, not those decimated areas. I'm talking about strategic areas to focus the attack on certain other nations like Israel, like Russia, and there's a reason for it. The as soon as Beirut happened, all of a sudden there was a big, massive influx to fund the Beirut army, in Lebanon, the Lebanese army. The Biden team the team Biden mainstreams terror financing in Lebanon. 15 years of U.S. aid to state security arms like the LAF and the SIF and the ISF have cost American taxpayers billions, while harming Israel and strengthening Hezbollah. You see, Hezbollah is they took over Lebanon a long time ago, and they know this. Lebanon is controlled by Hezbollah. They are an Iranian-backed terrorist organization, and they are funded by America.
Surprise!
I know, I know. They're dying because you're so surprised. So, but this is not just a conspiracy theory. They're just outward about it. I mean, in AP it says U.S. reroutes $72 million in aid for wages for Lebanese army police.
Yeah.
These are terrorist groups, Iranian-backed terrorist groups that only want the destruction of the Jewish nation, and we're funding it. We're funding it. And as a matter of fact, this is really odd. This is the largest U.S. embassy that has ever been built, and it's being built in Lebanon. Why? I mean, why? I can understand putting a building,
Mhm.
But I mean, you look at look at Malaysia. I went to the U.S. Embassy in Malaysia. That was just a building.
Mhm.
It was just a simple little building. That's all it was. This thing is a monster.
Yep.
Why is that?
It's a
Well,
huge complex. So many
right.
buildings. Yep.
Now, get this. Now, if they attack Israel, um, what's going to stop Israel from retaliating?
Mhm.
The fact that if you bomb Lebanon, you're bombing the United States embassy.
Mhm.
You're bombing your allies. You are creating all out war. And they're going to be much, like while Hezbollah is bringing like all these small troops out there to fire rockets into Israel on a daily basis, they can't retaliate. Why? Because America has their feet and dirty little fingers all over it.
Mhm.
So, and then also on top of that, America is doing this big bold move right now where 25,000 U.S. sailors and Marines to prepare for a global conflict and large-scale exercise in 2023. This is actually happening right now between August 9 and the 18th. It says the exercise brings together the combined firepower of Navy and Marine Corps teams across 6 maritime component commands, 7 numbered fleets, and 22 time zones. So throughout everywhere, all these strategic places, we are sending massive naval forces in these strategic places near Iran, near Ukraine and Russia,
Mhm.
Russia on both sides. So all of this is being instigated by America.
Mhm.
We're the baddies.
Are we the baddies?
Are we the baddies? Yeah, it's exactly like, it's just we play this righteous card, but I mean, me coming as an American, I love America. I love my country. There's no better country in the world, but yet our government is using taxpayer dollars to
Yeah.
destroy the world,
On wars all around the world.
all
Well,
around the world.
war, war equals money. You know,
Yeah,
all of those things that lead to war, they do create jobs. They do create opportunities, and it creates large sums of wealth to be within the coffers of the that top 1%, the elites.
yeah.
So they are the ones who are profiting from all of these global crises.
Well, I mean, you look at what happened in I mean, it goes. I know that that's absolutely true, right? I mean, it caused us in World War II to come out of the Great Depression.
Mm.
I get it. There could be some definite some perks there, um, but look at what happened in Afghanistan. We pulled out and we strategically left our massive army in the
Yep,
hand of known terrorists, and we knew it was going to happen.
yep,
Biden knew that
yep,
if we pull out, that Al Qaeda was going to come in and take over, and
yep,
we strategically left
yep.
all that military equipment. I love what they said. They were like, "Well, we're
Billions, I
leaving."
don't know, maybe billions of dollars worth of military equipment. And
Yeah,
these are not surplus equipment. They're brand new.
right.
You know, America just decided, oh, let's just leave them there. They will probably not use it.
Probably they knew. Like what was it? I remember this one thing. I mean, it was kind of a brutal fail, but it was a fail. They said that we have disabled all of the helicopters and all of the machines, and they
So
can't use it. And the next day, there was a footage of one of the terrorists grabbing one of the military helicopters and hanging somebody from their neck on the bottom of the
yeah,
helicopter rails, and then flew the dead body all around the city with our American helicopters.
yep, yep,
81 million votes.
yep.
you know, and so that's just what what they did, and we're funding terrorist organizations all around the world.
Yep.
We are, and but why? Why? Because where there's chaos and when there's absolute chaos, then and the world is in need of a savior, that's when somebody can come in. A special somebody can come in and say, I can fix this problem. Or the fact that the World Economic Forum, the World Health Forum, whatever it is, Klaus Schwab and all that kind of stuff can come in and say, listen, we need to create peace. We need peace and security. And when they say peace and security, sudden destruction comes upon them. So, where to end all this off? What do we do with all this? Because I mean, really, it's a lot to take in. It's a lot to talk about. And some of it's fun to talk about. Some of it's very worrying to talk about. But what do we do as a church knowing these things? In Matthew 24, we have to hold on to this hope. Matthew 24, this is Jesus after he says that all these things will happen: the pestilence, the great tribulation, and the wars and rumors of wars, the delivering up the saints to be tried, to delivering up to be killed. We have to understand that this is our hope that we hold on to in these days, and this is from Jesus's lips in Matthew 24, verse 29. It says, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to another. Now learn the parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender, and putteth forth leaves, ye know that the summer is nigh. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Absolutely. And so, what do we do? We know that this is all just God's plan coming out. And this just means that we're closer. We're closer. And, my pastor says something pretty funny. We always laugh, but we know it's true. He says, let me encourage you guys today. Let me encourage the church today. He says, it's going to get a lot worse. He says, but our... Yeah, right. And we always kind of cringe whenever he says, let me encourage you, because he always gives you like the hard truth, right? He says, let me encourage you. It's going to get a lot worse. But our blessed hope is right after the storm, is right after the darkness, is right at the break of day. But things need to be at its darkest before the sun comes up. And this is all just showing us that summer is nigh, that the season is now come, that now it's time for the harvest. And so we, as the fruit of God, we as the branches that are bearing the fruit, we just need to be ready. We need to be ready.
Yep. Yes, it's all about message of hope. Revelations, biblical prophecy, all of these things is message of hope. It's about Jesus Christ coming back to rescue his beloved bride, the church. So for all of you who believe, who have put their faith and trust in our Lord Jesus Christ, yes, as an encouragement, things will get worse, but be hopeful, because our Savior, the one who will save us, is coming for us. He will not leave us nor forsake us.
or Terry.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one. That one's a good one.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, he won't even hold off. He will
Yeah.
come at the right time. Right time.
Never
Yeah.
late, never too early.
Yeah, and I love that in Revelation, the first. If you ever want to know why these things are going on, just read Revelation 1:1. Right? It says that this is the revelation
Mm-hmm.
of Jesus Christ. I love that passage because it's not a scary book that we all should fear.
Yep.
It is the revealing of the coming. Like I like what it says in Matthew, where it says that the sun will be darkened, right? The sun will be darkened. That's terrible. But the
Mhm.
reason why the sun needs to be darkened is because we don't need it any longer, because Jesus is about to come in and
Yep.
be our light forever. So things need to be darkened.
Mhm.
That's just it. If the true light is going to come through, first things need to be darkened, foundations need to be shaken. There needs to be the old gone away, and then and something new being created. So this darkening of the world, it's just getting ready for the light. So we can hold on to that truth. We can hold on to that hope, that blessed hope that we have. And the reason why I stay close to what's going on in the world is because it keeps me sharp. It really does. It keeps me ready. It makes me stay okay. It keeps me from being complacent.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, I need to be ready. I need to be in the word. I need to be in prayer. I need to be all about my Father's business.
Mhm.
Where can I preach? Where can I serve? How can I get ready? How can I gird up my loins and be ready for the day of the Lord? Because the time is running out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And our Lord is about to arrive. About to come back.
Amen.
All right.
Yeah.
So it's
I
been a,
think 2 hours is good.
it's been a great discussion. So much that we discussed in this episode, but still so much more that we have not even started to touch on. But we'll tackle that in the coming days or weeks, the next episodes. So thank you very much, my brother. Thank you for
Yep.
this great discussion. Looking forward to the next episode.
Yeah,
So
this was fun. I like it.
yep. So if you're listening to us, watching us on YouTube, listening on Spotify, please do follow us, subscribe, and share this message with those you think would really benefit from this truth and these prophecy updates. Thank you very much to all of you. Uh, we look forward to hearing from you. Please do write to us in the comment section. Let us know your thoughts about all of these things that we've been discussing. We look forward to engaging with you and you being part of our community. So this has been the Road to Emmaus podcast. My name is Jules.
My name is Jason. All
There you go.
right. Thank you so much, guys. And we'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye bye.